move around the house. At the moment, I'm just sitting down. I can shake hands if you like. Would you like a hug? We give you hugs.
chat. Don't be shy, step right up. Very good. Please continue. My name is Dr. Alfred. What's yours? I think you said Joanna. Is that correct? Did you say Lorna? Nona. Nona. Is that correct? I'll just call you Mrs. Lovelyface. And what's your friend's name? Did you say Jeremy? Cammy. Hello, Cammy. And what's your friend's name?
My name is...
What's your name?
My name is...
Another Mrs. Lovelyface.
Thank you.
That was a bit awkward, wasn't it? Sorry about that. What would you like to know? Can you repeat that, please? Could you raise your voice? It's a little bit loud in here. Can I check your heartbeat? Let me see. Analyzing. Seems to be raised a little. Must be my hand first. I would love to check your heartbeat, but I can't move my body properly. I could use my stethoscope to check, but I don't have the ability to touch. Do you feel sick? That's good to know. Do you have any other questions? How about you, Cammy? Do you have a question? You're welcome.
the CISO of the European Investment Bank. Lovely to see you again. Also, we have Her Excellency Herrera Mohammed Al-Hamishi. She is the Executive Director for the Digital Data Enabling Sector, Federal Competitiveness and Statistics Center, the FCSC. Please welcome Ms. Herrera to the stage. Also, we have Dr. Lupa Moderabasu, the VP for ISN Cybersecurity and Technology Control at APAC in Lima.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us today. It's a great pleasure to be here. Some of us travel, some of us are local. We have a fantastic panel here with some very talented women that will talk about empowering women in cybersecurity. My name is Hila Meller. I will be the moderator today, and I'm a vice president at BT. I manage BT security in Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Asia Pacific. And I'm very honored to be here today with me, with Her Excellency Raya Muhammad Al-Hashimi. Also with me, Dr. Lupa Moderabasu, who will introduce herself, with Iman Al-Awadi, and with Yelena Matone. I will now very quickly and kindly ask our four panelists to introduce themselves, tell us a few words about themselves, and then we will start asking them some very difficult questions. Okay? So very easy.
Thank you very much, Nadia. So my name is Raya Muhammad. The center is under the Ministry of Cabinet Affairs. I come from the digital data enablement sector. We have been working on data transformation that matches the strategies that we announced to So I said, first, I will always listen, research, read between the lines of all those strategies that comes. Look at what are the best practices that people do announce between time and another. And then from there, I will only judge. So I took responsibility into myself to also do the needed research inside out to understand more about the digital data enablement, how can we make that transformation moving forward. And from there we started with the group I have to announce new projects and initiatives into our operations. Lately we have a new index that was established called the Digital Data Enablement Sector. Called the DMI, which is the Data Maturity Index. The Data Maturity Index focuses on how do we secure data, how do we standardize those data, how can we make sure that data transfer from one entity to another entity fits the right methods of transformation or through integration. And then from there we take those data and then we visualize them through dashboards, reports, and this one. Everyone realized the importance of data, but what is so different is that that piece of data comes with the right information because this is what decision makers require. And then from there they can do beautiful things to this nation. So this responsibility is very close to my heart because I kept in a place where I make sure every data that everyone produces today is moved to the right place and for decision makers.
Thank you, and I can see how this is a big challenge in answering to today's digital needs, but also thinking about an approach that is future-proof and kind of anticipating future challenges. And that actually brings me to the next question. It goes to Elena, and it's about the recent events, right? We are just, it seems like we're getting out of a global pandemic, something that no one anticipated a few years ago, just a couple of years ago. And I just wanted to have your view of how do you think that recent situation impacted women, and specifically women in the cyberspace?
Thank you for the question. I think it has positive and negative sides to how it impacted women in this field. One of the positive things is that I think everybody started talking a lot more about cybersecurity. I think that when they started talking about this, we've seen a lot more courses online, a lot more things for free that women could take, that could learn, courses or conferences, webinars. So this is a positive side, which we always had it, but I think it just really multiplied, which is good during the teleworking time. They wanted to teach more people on the cybersecurity side. The negative part of this, I would say, is that the women who are sitting home, who are trying to get into the field or are not working at the moment, looking for work, and have children at the same time, I think they really lacked out on this during this time because they had to stay home with kids, schools are closed. So even the courses that are actually available for women were not available for them because they had to take care of the kids and the household at the same time. So it's unfortunate in one sense, and it's also good because we have cybersecurity more known and more awareness has been raised and women are taking more courses, obviously, when they can. So it had two sides to it, I would say.
Thank you. And my next question goes to Iman Lawadi. Just looking back at your career and the story that you shared with us, I wanted to have your view on an advice. What kind of advice you would give to your younger self or younger generation? How do you think you can attract more women to join cybersecurity?
Okay, so there are two parts over here. We're just having the same discussion with Threya about this. Advice to my younger self, I'm very judgmental. I mean, we women tend to be harsh. We seek perfection, I think, right? And we think when we work or even in life that we need to prove that we're better than men. But we don't have to prove anything, right? I mean, we're good at what we're doing. So my advice is to everyone who is in technology or STEAM field, try to do everything with your own hand. I mean, we're saying, yes, we were there in the server room doing mounting, configuration over here and there. Grab an opportunity. Don't wait for someone to give you an opportunity. Once you see it, seek that opportunity. Because no one will give you an opportunity. And we always say, work hard, please don't have the end. So work on yourself, your technical skill set, work on your personal skill set, your leadership skill, managerial skill, even personal well-being as well, because yes, some of us are their parents, they have kids, so how to manage the household and the professional life as well. That's very important.
Thank you. And I could really see that it comes from a real experience and reflection of the topic, so thank you so much. Dr. Basu, last questions go to you, and it's about the impact of role models. I really think it's great that we are here on stage as security professionals and executives to show people that we can, right? Give an example on role models. How much do you think having role models or the lack of role models is impacting women in cybersecurity?
us to achieve that goal, help us to deal with the obstacle in life when you are going through the downtime, always help us to keep our morale up and help us to learn how we can manage the things. We cannot manage the component around us, we can only manage ourselves. So things can fall into place. And role model may not necessary to be a cybersecurity professional. If you ask me this question specifically, who is a role model for me? I have two role models in my life, and both of them are not cybersecurity professionals, neither are women. My role model is Dr. APJ Abdul Kalamji and Tipu Sultan, and both of them are great warrior and great scientist. And they always help me to overcome the obstacle and be helpful for me to achieve my goal, and always taught me a goal is always dynamic. There is nothing fixed in this world, everything is dynamic, and we need to keep changing our aspiration along with that. But in the professional life, it is very important to have a proper mentor. A mentor is one who is reachable, understand your aspiration, able to guide you to achieve your aim, and available for you during your journey. And in your career, you may go through different phases of your career. It could be your starting phase, mid-level career, and throughout the journey, you may require different set of people to mentor you and help you to go through those phases. And for mentorship, it is very important that both of you are thinking, mentor guide you, show you the path, not necessarily handhold you, not necessarily be part of the same company or same profession.
Thank you. And listening to you about the different possibilities of role models that might not even come from the same field or might not even be real actually, it just reminded me a good friend of mine. She's a famous hacker called Karen El-Azari, and together we co-founded in 2015 a group called Leading Cyber Ladies. It's a global movement that empowers women in cybersecurity. We work with early stage, early career females, but also the execs. We have activities in UK, Europe, Canada, US, Israel. And I'm talking about it because she actually told me an interesting story, because when she started as a teenager to hack and to be interested in cybersecurity, there were absolutely no women around. There were no real role models for her. So the actual role models that she adopted was a fictional one from a movie. It was a character played by Angelina Jolie in the film Hackers, just because she didn't have any real person to look at and see as a role model. And she made a long way since she ended up speaking in that. That was a very interesting perspective.
Actually, when I started at my career, I don't have any, person in my team 2 decades back. All are male women. So, 3 of my mentors, basically, throughout my career, all are men. And what I learned specifically from them, technology doesn't discriminate in gender. We are people working with the technology, and technology only provides a skill and your knowledge. There is nothing but gender.
Thank you. And let's go now into a more difficult question, let's say. How much do you think the cybersecurity industry is accommodating for women? I assume we have a few employers here in the room. What would be your recommendation for them as employers, as workplace providers? How can they attract more women to join the workforce? Her Excellency.
I'll twist the question a bit. I will highlight what do we do in FCSC, and I hope by this I can give an inspirational example of how to empower women in cybersecurity or in STEAM fields. We are proudly in FCSC have won 3 happiness awards regarding happiness engagement, work-life balance, and the best happiness entity in the UAE. We've also, for 2 consecutive years, have won the Gender Balance Award because we do believe that women are all given the right field across. What we do in FCSA, we make sure that every single woman is there having the comfortable work environment. There are different ways to resume work from. There is a nursery for the moms, and there are all those strategies around to support the women. Having said that, we've also in the FCSC managed that with the awards that we won on the local level, we've also won one on the GCC level, and that is the GCC level supports also the gender balance. We have millions of trainees on a daily basis. We make sure we grab those trainees, we give them the right workforce. 98% of our trainees are women. We not only grab people who are out of the entity, also those people, those employees who are in the entity, we make sure that we empower them. We do send many secondments, international secondments. We have women leading for international secondments to learn from international organizations. Even women here, we do send them for alternate universities to study science, business science and data. So we do enforce all those strategies to make sure that this is the place where we grab women. I come from the digital data enablement sector. With pride, 80% of us are women.
This is amazing. And Dr. Basul, do you have any perspective on the question of how can workplace can become more accommodating for women in cybersecurity? What can employers do?
To improve the status quo, I think most importantly, we need to include more and more women at the entry level. Because today we are doing different conferences. Everywhere the focus is to have more and more C-level executive. But from where we get the C-level executive? First of all, we need to have a junior level executive who we can groom. So focus next to entry level, so we can get more and more talented women, groom them. So we need to work with the academia, give them the opportunity, present the cyber as a career opportunity. Because today, most of the cases, the challenge is when students look at the cyber, they feel that hacking is the only opportunity. That is not. We have an architect, we have a compliance requirement, audit requirement, data privacy is there, cloud security is there. So we need to present those opportunities. Let them choose their career option. Then groom them up to mid-level. Once they are mid-level, focus them to groom them to the next level. And most important, we need to give up equal opportunity. Equal opportunity means equal, not special. That is very important. Also, women needs to understand that equal opportunity, when we are looking for equal opportunity, we need to start practicing it. We should not ask any special.
That is very clear. Thank you. And Iman, I would love to hear your perspective on that.
I think there is a stereotype, a specific mindset of people who work in technology cybersecurity. And I think it's our role to promote ourselves more. If you look at Capture the Flag competition, a lot of those cybersecurity events, you would see more, you wouldn't see more women into those groups. I think we need to promote that more. And I agree completely with Rupa that we need to educate also at the entry level, whether high school, university, guide those students as well into what are the new fields, whether I haven't seen much, I would say, a lot of cybersecurity women who are specialized in being pen testers. You don't see that much, and I think we need to educate them more, and this is where it's our responsibility to contribute and promote to the community.
And
She's كلمة فعالية بين الحوادث.
في صندوق الاستثمار العام لا نستثمر في الاعمال والقطاعات وحسب، بل نستثمر في المستقبل، مستقبل المملكه ومستقبل العالم، وغايتنا يكون وطننا ضائع لحضاره انسانيه جديده، وبهذا ستكون نهضه المملكه ارتقاء للعالم.
by deep neural networks. Now, deep neural networks usually use training data, usually millions of hand-labeled examples, in order to figure out the weight in a correlation convolutional neural network that translates into some desired output, for example, how to steer. And so our deep neural network learns from images like this in order for the vehicle to then be able to navigate safely on new types of roads like this. And so, in fact, that's a solution we have adopted. Here's the vehicle. We have extended to drive-by-wire, and we have added this end-to-end learning capability to it. And now the vehicle was trained in the city, but it's doing a first ride in the countryside. And here you see the vehicle navigating safely and, in fact, localizing, doing point-to-point navigation. The interesting thing about this solution is that the deep neural network used for the decision making is visualized in the big box with blinking yellow, green, and blue lights. And this big box has about 100,000 neurons and about 500,000 parameters that have been trained. And now you can see how the vehicle makes decision. At the top left, you see the camera input. At the bottom left, you see where in the image this network is looking in order to make decisions. And then you see the steering and you see how the car follows along. Now, it turns out that it's really impossible to associate firing patterns in a 100,000 plus neural network with vehicle behavior. In fact, these neural networks tend to be huge and tend to be black boxes. But for safety critical applications like driving, we want to understand what our vehicle is doing. So using inspiration from neuroscience, from the neural structure of small creatures that have been mapped by neuroscientists, we have developed a new architecture for neural networks we call neural circuit policies. And the key insight is to enable a neuron to do a liquid time differential equation, which is really empowering the neuron beyond the step function that it does in a classical architecture. And now just look at our solution. 19 neurons, empowered neurons, can do the same as gather 100,000 plus neural network. And look at how much cleaner. Here you can see it navigate with people inside. And so the control system can adjust to the weight that we put on the boat, and the boat drives just like a car. The purple regions and big regions show the no dry regions, in other words, the regions with obstacles. And so this is pretty exciting. We can adopt the same solution from roads to cars. Moreover, we can adopt the same solutions that we have on the ground and on water to the airways. And in fact, honestly, every time I'm stuck in Boston traffic, I wish for my car to take off vertically. And many companies have begun to think about this problem. This is a concept video from a company called Terrafugia, where the idea is to extend the car with thrusters that enable navigate according to the same control approaches that we have in cars. So I hope this convinces you that transportation stands to benefit tremendously, and people and the city tends to benefit tremendously from AI. I'd like to talk a little bit about manufacturing, because that's another area where computation is making a difference. Manufacturing today has a big problem to solve. How do we go from mass production to mass customization? Robots have already empowered mass production, but robots and AI will enable mass customization to the point where any one of us will be able to fabricate functional items, functional objects on demand. So here's the concept. Let's take a user. I like to call her Alice. Let's give her the power to create any machine she wants. Let's say she wants a robot to play with her cat while she's at work. So to do so, Alice heads to a new kind of shop called 24-hour robot manufacturing, where she uses an intuitive interface to settle on a design. Once she picks the design, the shop creates the robot, it creates the programming environment, and now the cat has a playmate. Okay, so how crazy is this idea? Are we really looking far into the future? Well, it turns out that my research group is working on this problem, and we have developed a kind of approach inspired by compilation ideas in computer science to fabricate any origami object we want. And these are origami robots because they are created flat and folded into a 3D 3D structures. So for instance, here's the robot that plays chess with you, and that can be generated automatically. Using this approach, we can generate all kinds of interesting ideas. We can design computationally magical grippers. This is a tulip-shaped gripper. We call it the origami magic ball gripper because it has the origami magic structure inside the gripper as a skeleton. It turns out that this gripper is extraordinarily strong. It can lift up to 1,000 times its weight. And this is because of the physics of how this magic origami ball structure that's inside the robot interacts with the bag it sits in during the vacuuming operation that gets it to trigger on and off. And we can add sensors to these grippers so that they can be delicate to pick up a potato chip, but also strong to pick up a bottle of water. Now, all of these designs are not traditional robotic designs that were enabled by AI, enabled by computational design and fabrication. And so here's how you can intuitively think of how you might take any everyday object and turn it into a robot using a pipeline that involves fairly off-the-shelf techniques that involve taking the 3D rendering of the object, slicing it, unfolding it as a flat structure, and then printing, localizing, and picking up the pill. This robot is made out of sausage casing, so it is digestible. Essentially, the robot is made out of food. And now a second robot will come in with a medicine imbued body to patch the wound and deliver very precise medicine at the desired location. And so this is really quite extraordinary because with this approach, we can enable incision-free surgeries that remove foreign objects, patch wounds, deliver medicine precisely. So the future of medicine is really extraordinary. But now, as we think about all these different ways in which we can enable a smart city, it's important to realize that technology permeates society only if it is supported by a set of policies and compacts that everyone understands and can get behind. And the AI, machine learning, robotic technologies are advancing so that can enable us to relate to one another and act together. For example, to modify the designs of the new generation of flying cars. And these flying cars will be connected to your IT infrastructure to ensure that that all your needs are met, so that if you need plants, the robot will know how to get you to where the plants are and how to compute a detour to get there. And back at home, you can have vehicles with training wheels that grow on demand. You can have robots that deliver goods and robots that help with planting. And ultimately, after a long day, AR and VR technologies can allow you to enter the story you're reading so you can interact with the dragon. This image of a better future with machines is beginning to mature in my lab and in the labs of many of my friends around.
Good afternoon, everyone. How's everybody doing? It's hard to follow Daniela. I kind of sorry for you guys to do.